Now, you mentioned that people get confused, I guess, and it's the terminology here. You talk about a freelancer versus a consultant versus a contractor versus a broker versus a small firm. How does someone understand whether they're one or the other? What are the differences between these?
Yep. One of the characteristics I've found in speaking with as many people as I have is that and I've almost designed my own kind of categorical nomenclature for the types of people that I speak with. So these are my categories, but I've found that most successful independents fall into one of them. Freelancers, I've found, are more of the small or medium dollar value projects, anywhere from $500 to $10,000 project value. They're typically doing consulting for small companies, sometimes even retail shops, and they usually provide their services on a deliverable basis rather than an hourly basis. And the types of occupations that typically go into this are more of the creative industry. So you've got your writers, animators, graphic designers, marketers, your trainers. And then the next category would be consultants. And this is your tried and true professional independent consultant that is really providing a special type of advice to their clients to solve a problem that has faced them that they couldn't solve on their own. So they're deciding to outsource to get that objectivity that they need to solve the problem. This is more of your interim executives, engineers, your project managers, and your financial business and management experts. And one of the other questions that I often get is, what is the difference between a consultant and a contractor, and a contractor being the third group? I personally distinguish contractors and consultants by the perspective of the client. So what is the need for the client? Is this to solve a problem that is facing the organization, or is it just to increase capacity to get a project that's already been ongoing being done more quickly? So if it's just to increase capacity and that's the reason why you're being hired, then that, I think, is more of a contractor versus a consultant.
So in other words, Steve, if I am a software shop, IT department within a major corporation, and all of a sudden the CEO said, hey, listen, this particular project, it was supposed to be due in October, but I need it done by August, and they now have to take their development up by 30 or 40%. They would just be looking for still skilled individuals as independent workers, but that's really bringing them on to increase capacity, as opposed to if I was looking for some strategic advice in terms of what is the right platform for me to build a technology platform on, and I'm looking for advice or outside strategy help. Would that be an example?
That's a perfect example. Absolutely.
All right, so just quickly tell us about brokers and small firms, because I want to move on to the next question.
Yeah, so brokers are more in the staff augmentation business and the placement business. And sometimes they'll find independent contract recruiters, and these are professionals with really large natural markets and access to a wide array of talent that they've built over the years, and they also have some pretty good connections that with their clients, so they can place people at. And then small firms. Small firms is typically if you're going to get awarded a larger a contract amount, so you've got a $200,000 contract, and you can't yourself provide the services, so you need to build a team of employees and subcontractors to do it. So typically these are 2 to 10 people, and they set up a small company to do that.
Now, you mentioned here in your slide $50,000 to $100,000 bundles in terms of ideal project size. I guess that's because if you go much smaller, it's kind of hard to start up and wind down with smaller projects. Obviously, larger projects are better, but why don't you want to go larger than that initially? Is that because you will then perhaps get put into more of a competitive environment?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you, and this is especially, we're right outside of the Washington, D.C. area, there's certain limits with contract size that go through different procurement processes. So if you get over that $100,000 bundle amount, you're going to be looking more to the RFP proposal process. It gets a little bit more complicated. They follow different rules.
It takes a longer cycle.
Yeah, and if you're just starting off, the best way to do it is just either go with a deliverable amount or just set up an hourly amount. So.
Well, great. So, Steve, the first topic, the first characteristic you talked about was this independent state of mind. Now we're talking about result-based work. So the third one you brought out was focused on what's important, being focused, staying true to what you're good at, and kind of make sure you outsource any of those other distractions. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sounds kind of like a throwaway, be focused, but it really is important. It's about knowing what you do really well and only doing that and not branching off too much. So stick to being an expert in your field and not just knowing you're an expert, but also making it a little bit more public. So putting it out there that you know what you do really well, and that means participating in panels and such, but stay aligned to your core expertise. And don't be, be opportunistic, but not short-sighted. And when a project, comes your way, really successful independent consultants will not just take it because they need the money. They will take what they know they can deliver on. And if they can't deliver on it really well, hey, they'll just refer it to one of their friends, their peers, their colleagues. And hey, it might be reciprocal one day, but it's just staying core to what you're good at. And then the last thing that I often find, and this is actually the main reason why most people call me, is that they don't want to get distracted on things that are outside of their skill set. So all of the invoicing, the collections, the tax management, the HR issues, the financial, the regulatory stuff. I don't want to route around the internet trying to figure out solutions to administrative problems when I could be billing $200 an hour doing my job. So it's about just focusing in on what you do well and then outsourcing some of the distractions that prevent you from doing that efficiently.
So obviously, Steve, that's where MBO partners can really help either an established consulting practice or someone who's starting out who really needs to figure out how to navigate that. So yeah, I'll put in a shameless plug for it.
Thanks.
All right. So, we talked about the independent mindset, the results-based, focused, and the fourth characteristic you came up with was integrity. Obviously, I absolutely think that's certainly critical in any business, but why don't you put some spotlight on that for us?
Yeah, it kind of goes without saying, but reputation in independent consulting is by far your best marketing asset. It is how you will get additional business. It will be how you get your first client. It's the word of mouth. It's if you were to ask your peers and colleagues, who's good at doing X, Y, and Z, and the first person they think of is you. So, and it's being trustworthy and reliable and dependable. So part of being that is that they don't oversell what they do. They don't overcommit. They say, I'm good at doing X, Y, and Z, and that's it. And hey, you're asking me to do a lot more than that, so I need to actually increase the scope of this project and bring in some other people to do it because I can't do that. And that's more of the confidence, but it's being trustworthy.
And Steve, let me just interject that, earlier this year we did a survey which was quite interesting. In fact, we also have a State of Independence survey. If people want to go to our website, they can take a look at and download the entire survey. But one of the things that I think is really of interest is, and really relates to anybody listening on this call, is that what we found is that over 90% of the successful consultants, where they found their first project and most of their other new projects, is due to relationships that they already have established. And it's based on their trust, on their integrity, on their expertise, on people that know who they are and how they deliver their work. And it's not on job boards. It's not, all that stuff is really, really important to keep yourself out there. But I just really want to emphasize Steve's point here that, integrity and references and that is absolutely the number one way that people are finding their work. And don't burn those bridges. Make sure that you keep all of those relationships really strong.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.